an attorney at Frith Ellerman in Roanoke, Virginia. And yesterday I spent a little bit of time in the office preparing for a talk I'm giving tomorrow for a group of residents at a local hospital. And the talk is entitled Non-Compete Agreements for Virginia Physicians. So I thought I would share a little bit of the information I plan to share with these young doctors tomorrow with you on the off chance that you are a Virginia doctor. You are either being asked to sign a non-compete for the first time, or you have signed an employment agreement with a hospital or a clinic or a physician's office, and now you're wanting to make a transition and you have a non-compete and you're wondering what to do. So general, very quick advice is, number one, have an attorney in the state where you work review your employment agreement. And I know that sounds pretty basic stuff, but medicine and law are a little bit different. How you perform a gallbladder surgery is probably the same in Maryland as it is in Virginia, but the enforceability of a non-compete is different in Maryland than it is in Virginia because state laws apply. So you don't want to have your cousin who's a real estate lawyer in South Dakota review your non-compete if you're a Virginia doctor. You want to have a Virginia lawyer review your non-compete so that someone can give you advice as to whether or not they believe your specific contract is binding under Virginia law. So that's number one. Number two, you want to make sure that you do review it and understand it completely before you sign it. And if it's too late for that, if you had a feeling of trust towards the hospital or the clinic, you've signed it, now you want to make that transition and you're not really sure what to do, have a lawyer review it before you transition. A couple reasons. A local attorney who does non-competes is going to know a bunch about your hospital system. Do they let doctors out? Do they enforce them? Do they sue? How do they handle these when there are transitions? I know our local hospital system yesterday announced that they'd had 2 years of really bad income because of COVID, but they also highlighted major staff turnover, of course, during the pandemic. So this is something that they are very familiar with. Doctors wanting to leave. Sometimes nurses also have non-compete agreements, specifically if the hospital has agreed to pay for some of their student loans. There might be a non-compete tied in. So you do see a lot of these in the healthcare industry. Number three, even though the American Medical Association has a statement that says they are not in favor of non-compete agreements, hospital lobbies love them. So in most states, many states, they are still valid, they are enforceable, and they are good law. So that's why you want to have an attorney in your state look at it. The only other thing I would advise for a young attorney who is looking at an employment contract a young doctor who is looking at an employment contract for the first time is to not ignore some of the other provisions in the contract. Will this company, hospital, clinic pay for your tail coverage when you leave? That's important. Will they pay for your CMEs? Will they ask for you to indemnify them if you were sued during that period of tail? There's a lot of unique provisions that you'll find in contracts for doctors that are frankly very unfair for the physician or employee. They are 100% beneficial for the hospital or the clinic or the doctor's office, but not for the employee. And you want to make sure that you understand those. Another thing, a lot of young doctors, especially when they're finished residency, they've been in debt for years, they've not made any money. They see this big shiny contract that gives them a $20,000 moving bonus or $30,000 signing bonus. But in the fine print, it says if you leave before 5 years, you have to pay us that money back. Well, guys, that is very expensive. That is not a gift. That is not a bonus. That is a high interest loan. And let me explain that to you. If the hospital says, here's $30,000 if you sign up to work with us, but if you leave within 5 years, you have to repay it back on some prorated basis. You've already paid income tax on that. So your $30,000 was $15,000 in your pocket. What if now you have to pay $20,000 back because you left within a year? So I really encourage people to look at those bonuses as high interest loans and to act accordingly when it comes to their finances, because most of the time the hospitals do enforce that payback provision. So that's just the long and short and a sort of brief overview of what I'll be sharing with all these young doctors tomorrow. If you have a Virginia non-compete or an employment contract and you're a physician or a healthcare provider in Virginia and you want someone to look at it, even though we're in Southwest Virginia, we do review these and evaluate them and share our legal interpretation on your rights and restrictions all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we sure would be honored to assist you. Typically, it can be done in 3 hours. And I don't ever want to make our fee hidden or surprise. So I bill $200 an hour. My partner, Dan, is $250 an hour. My partner, Bo, is $200 an hour. So typically, we can get everything done: review, evaluation, discussion, and negotiation, typically in about 3 hours. If you have any questions, give us a call. Thank you so much.